Good evening here in Los Angeles. Good morning for those of you over there in China. Welcome to this online lecture, our first one of the academic year. It is a true honor and pleasure to welcome Xu Pei to talk to us tonight. I have the pleasure to know Xu for some time. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to think and reflect a lot on many issues that I think is in the imaginarium of everybody involved in architecture. Let me go through some of the formalities of Xu Pei trajectory. He founded his studio Xu Pei in Beijing in 2005. And from there, he has produced an extraordinary corpus of cultural work that have made him one of the leading figures in architecture, not in his generation, I would say, but in any generation. His work has been exhibited all over the world, including places like MoMA in New York, the Venice Biennale, the GI Gallery in Japan, the Centre Pompidou, the Victoria and Albert Museum, the Castle Dresden Art Museum, Sao Paulo Art Biennale, and with solo shows in AIDA's Harvard University, the Rome Maxi Museum, and so on. His work is part of the permanent collections of the MoMA New York, the Centre Pompidou in Paris, the Victoria and Albert Museum, and others. He was also very active as a jury. He liked to participate and engage in discussion with the future architecture. He was a jury member for the Mies van der Rohe Award many years ago. And of course, Xu has a long relation with the United States, a long relation with the American Academy. He has taught at Harvard and Columbia, to name a few, as a visiting professor. Current dean on the Central Academy of Fine Arts Art School of Architecture in Beijing, which I have the pleasure to visit a couple before the pandemic years. And it's an extraordinary place, a unique place with a very long tradition and an influential cultural institution in Beijing and all over Asia. So what I think is super interesting and why I really wanted, we really wanted to have Xu with us, is because I think his work, it sits and operates an extraordinary intersection between tradition and innovation. He's somebody who finds a lot of roots in the work, in his culture and the traditions of his culture and his country, but at the same time, always looking to innovate, always looking also to understand what is the cultural context. What are the possibilities of material, how to rethink materials that we know, but making those things in a different way. I think his work, I find it incredibly poetic and romantic, but at the same time, incredibly provocative and abrasive in a contemporary way. So the work of Xu is a work that is always, I would call it, in a productive tension. It's never one thing or another. Every time that you start to make an assumption that is this, something else remind you that there are other things in play. And I think, to me, is one of the most extraordinary gifts that architecture has. It's its capacity to confuse us about what is the temporality in which that body of work inhabits. So, as I said, it's a very honor and pleasure to have it. Unfortunately, because circumstances is still on the pandemic cloud that is still keep moving around in the world, he couldn't be in person here with us inside in Los Angeles, but we really want to hear from him. So this medium, even not ideal, in the other hand, allows us to reach a larger group of people. And we know that we have people all over the world listening to this talk. So without further ado, I just want to welcome Xu Pei to SCI-Arc.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Hernan, for such kind of introduction. It is a great honor to have a chance to share my work, my thought, my experience with everyone. My topic tonight is root and innovation. Let me share my screen. I'm going to focus on one project, which is Imperial Q Museum, to represent my design philosophy. And in the last part of my lecture, I will use some image of material and structure proposition from other projects to explain how my philosophy get translated across different tectonic terrains. The exhibition of a recent architecture from China at MoMA is so meaningful for the contemporary practice in China after 30 years repeat urbanization, especially under the challenge of the climate change. Martino Stierli, who is Philip Johnson chief curator, along with his team, through their observation, discovered the younger generation of Chinese architects was trying to find a new way to approach contemporary architecture with rich cultural and the material tradition of China. Even each architect, even each architect is okay, right? Okay, sorry. Even, each architect have their own style in terms of architecture language, but they strongly share one common interest, which is ecological and cultural sustainability. Their design not contemporary, but also deeply rooted into the traditional Chinese cultural background. The 7 architects was selected, including myself, my work, Imperial Q Museum, also shown in MoMA. If we try to summarize the characteristic of traditional Chinese culture, I think about it is art. Chinese culture is culture of art. Confucius side, the beginning in poetry, standing in ceremony, and becoming music. The Chinese landscape painting may be a good example to understand artistic spirit in Chinese culture. Those 2 landscape painting was done by Gao Kegong, Yuan Dynasty. They represent the highest achievement in Asian Chinese history. So what we can learn from those painting, or what we inspired by this landscape painting? The first of all, I believe the nature attitude is the first strong character. For example, if you look at the painting, so much dominated by the nature. Only little house, the artificial things hiding in behind the landscape. Maybe you see some fishermen walking around here. So this is pretty much represent the Chinese ideology of unity of man and nature, one of Asian Chinese thought. The second is my landscape. This painting is roughly, it's not a representation of the nature. They pretty much abstract in a certain way. The Chinese artists never sit down in front of a mountain to sketch those landscape. They would like to traveling inside the mountain for many months. Once they came back home, they use brush, ink quickly to draw. They try to catch up their mood and the experience. In other way, this art is more talking about the experience and the perception rather than representation. Another character is so inspired my work, which is in complete integrity. I consider this painting is so much, for example, they leave a lot of open, right? They leave a lot of blank, but the Chinese artists consider blank is gold. Actually, they give you room. They inviting and welcoming people to create work with artists together. Even today, when we saw this painting, you start to, each individual are going to really follow into the creating or imagination. So my design philosophy is quite inspired by the Chinese art and Oriental view of nature, we call, and try to find an intelligent way to approach contemporary architecture based on the ecological and the cultural sustainability to respond the very crucial global the climate change, definitely also, regional cultural ruptures. So this architecture of nature is kind of the theory or ideology. I really want to, to explore the natural constructive principle behind architecture, to discover to discover the source. For example, is respond, for example, the challenge, especially want to reconstruct the blood relationship among architecture, people, regional culture, geography, climate, and so on. So two paths, whenever I work on the work, I always think about how we rediscover the root based on culture and climate. The architecture is art. I strongly believe this is I strongly believe so. So innovation became to the first priority for the architecture. Creating new experience is always the first thing. So I also try to summarize the 5 points. When I think about architecture, I still feel the site and the orientation. Maybe I use more really hard to translate from the Chinese term. The site and orientation not only associates sun, wind, the water or mountain and so on. Actually, this is a deal with the feng shui or more the cultural sense, more sustainable the idea. The second point is structure and form. I strongly believe the good architecture should be how you make structure system into, be part of your architectural form. In other way, the art or poetic expression of a structure should be the creation process. The sponge architecture is more talking about the prosody, the character, but I would like to use this character to represent the traditional Chinese architecture. They always they not have very clear in and out. They always create a kind of a corridor, pavilion, courtyard. If you look at the Chinese traditional building, they roughly the contain many space to let people wandering, inside, to hang on, to take a break, to very enjoyable the spaces. So sometimes you feel useless, but actually this can really content the very rich the architecture program. The cave and the nest. This so crucial for the climate change. Since the architecture should have a cave and a nest in terms the spatial quality. This is also indicate Chinese yin yang. So in order to they can have some the balance in for the sometimes space is closed, sometimes open. So we can inspired by the lot of the Asian architecture, for example, the China like Shanxi province, they have some the cave right above, basically above the cliff. So they live in cave, but they also built wood structure right on the front. So you're going to discover this is a so intelligent idea. Is that they can make the cave and the nest in terms of the temperature, light, somehow to transform. They can balance the, all those things. Last, the point is, I just mentioned before, in complete integrity. This is really be part of my work. I consider architecture, even you finish the construction, this is you cannot be built, completely complete. You have to leave some room in terms of the form, space, content to let people to really engage in terms of the activities. So from there, maybe I'm going to use one example and also the project I'm working on, try to demonstrate the architecture of nature, which is my design philosophy, and also the 5 points I just mentioned before. The first project is Imperial Kiln Museum. This shot, probably you can get a sense, people standing on the relic park of the Imperial Kiln ruin site. So through this view, you can get a sense about today's urban setting. Jingdezhen used to be porcelain, the capital in the war. During the Ming and the Qing dynasty, they export a huge amount of porcelain to the Europe. So this is like greenish, the white porcelain, like Song dynasty. This is Yuan dynasty, blue and white porcelain. This Ming dynasty, Douzai, more represent colorful, white porcelain with some color. So you can see from Song, Yuan, Ming, and the dynasty, they produced highest achievement in the Chinese porcelain history. Starting Ming dynasty, the Jingdezhen became to the imperial kiln to produce porcelain for the imperial family. So this is a satellite photo for the today's Jingdezhen. For the historical town, they used to be here. But this is a way, farmland and the landscape. They used to have a lot of hill, water. This is a major river, goes south-north, passing through the city. This is the west boundary of the old town. The Jingdezhen is not like planning, not plan the city. They more growing naturally in terms based on the porcelain industrial. They start from south, further south, Sanbao is the Song dynasty. This location called Loma Qiao, which is a Yuan dynasty, lot kiln is based on here. And then this is a current old town is based, start from Ming dynasty. Imperial kiln, the site is here. This is our museum site. So if you close up this the setting or urban fabric, you can see quite interesting the texture. For example, small alley always go to perpendicular with this big river in order to they can transform the product into the river. They bring the soil wood back to the city and the kiln. And then the big street always parallel, go north-south, the city in order to, they bring the market, everything trading, the shopping street on this way. So this is one of the typical alley. You can see it's quite narrow with a roof overhang. Jingdezhen be part of, south, part of China. It's quite human. It's a sort of a tropical, the climate is so hot in summer, very cold in winter, even snowing in winter. So the hot weather and the more rain in the summer. So this narrow valley provide comfort the condition. For example, most of the time in the noon, they they under the shed, under the shadow. For example, like a roof overhang, people in and out from here. You can feel very comfortable. This create sustainable, the interesting phenomenon, which is I call the wind tunnel, when always concentrate this small alley. But this small alley also bring into each individual housing. It's a housing surrounding with a few the vertical courtyard like this. This building very enclosed from outside, but inside is like a vertical, like a courtyard typology. So they also create interesting the phenomena, which is like a chimney, the phenomena. They can bring the hot air to go up. And so this is an early development of the city, actually based on the kiln complex, which including the one brick kiln. You can see this is a very typical the brick kiln and the workshop, and also housing nearby. This is like a seal of the city. So if you walk through the old town city, sometimes you always saw the chimney behind, housing, which is a lot of private, the brick kiln surrounding the imperial kiln. And this is a restoration. When I work on this design, I just, wandering in the old town, one day I discovered some craftsmen making their brick kilns. Where scaffolding, the craftsmen just sitting there, they just, control in general the shape. So how you can, based on the big brick, they make the base. This base already there, but beyond this point, this like a brick shell is they're going to demolish every few years in terms of the BMO requirement, since this the brick is lost, the insulation, the character. So this video is I try to catch up how people. It's quite interesting. Is this when they making this brick kiln, they use their finger, and they cutting through this organic the form into the cross section. One layer of the brick is one section. They translate, complicate the form into the two-dimensional. So like those. The kiln always have some wood structure to cover in order to they can protect from the rain and so on. So like those scenario, for example, when we see this the kiln surrounding like a wood structure, a lot of people is working here. Sometime in winter. Very cold in Jingdezhen, the small school, like a kindergarten or school student can be gathering here. Actually, school is adjacent to the kiln in order to take advantage from the heat. And sometimes the student also stolen one brick. This is called this brick is more like a temporary living there in order to they adjust the balance. When you're burning this the brick kiln, they have some tension. They want to use the brick to balance in order to keep this structure stable. And then some students just stolen the one brick, put in the school bag. They can keep it, whole day warm. In other way, this kiln, not only they're doing the personal work daily, but also they be part of their life. The people always getting here, a lot of meeting going on, social, and so on, play. This is a break. You can feel the strongly the you know, when you saw this housing, you feel the whole world built based on the recycle brick. This is one another Jingdezhen tradition. Things the brick kiln going to always demolish, right? Every few years. So a lot of the brick with the we call the glazed brick, they mix with new brick together. They build housing, they build street, and so on. Whole construction for the city just based on the recycled brick idea. This is our site, actually surrounding very complicated urban the fabric. This is like old housing. If you go beyond, this is a housing always including the lot of kiln. Currently, we have a lot of ruin side for this side, this side. This is an imperial kiln used to be here. Right now, it's nothing above the ground. It's everything underneath. This is like social housing built in early 90 and so on. And also beyond is a lot of factory built after in 1949. So this is after we realized our design. So you can get sense about how this the overall the museum is not trying to use a huge clear the definition about you know their boundary. They play the zigzag shape in order to the weaving with surrounding the urban fabric. You also can get a sense this can be really the sustainable the idea like I mentioned before, this is each the brick kiln can be the wind tunnel and so on. So this is after we built. In the beginning, when I think about this concept, I really want to create a kind of experience among the people, the museum, and the porcelain. Since porcelain never too big, this museum is like a big museum, just only show the excavated from the imperial kiln ruin part. So I, you know, first idea, I just feel how I can catch up this sense of the blood relationship among the people, the kiln and the porcelain and so on. So this is the initial sketch is represent my the intention, the think about structure form and architecture form. Another idea, like what I mentioned, the root is associated with climate. Each the kiln more like the wind tunnel, like you know, catch up the south wind. In the summer, the major wind orientation from the south. And also the building overall, this this volleyed is a kind of layout from based on the north-south orientation in order to against the east-west sun, open south-north to bring the wind into the museum. And plus the 5 vertical courtyard. So this horizontal wind tunnel and vertical courtyard can produce the chimney effect to make this building overall 3-dimensional. The wind is, you know, installation. So this is the kind of a too strong idea is the blood relationship with the people, brick kiln, the porcelain, and another is like a wind or climate idea. So this is after we are finished the concept design. You can see the surrounding historical housing, factory, and the social housing. It's very complicated, the site. Since this building, you also can feel they roughly is the layout, it's not 100% parallel each other or perpendicular. So they somehow to adjust, make this the building more intimate scale. You can see this is from small scale housing to the big scale the factory. So this museum somehow in between. The major exhibition, the space under the ground. So in order to we can keep this museum above ground is more horizontal, more the layout on the ground. So you can see, like I mentioned before, the incomplete integrity associates this the in and out shape in order to this all the existing the housing or fabric can be integrate each other. Not only this form, but also like space. We would like to make open to bring the light, natural light, wind, sun, and also the activity as well. So this picture showing our design process. In our design tradition, I always, ask our team to use hand to make a model instead of 3D printing. For this specific, the design is quite challenging in terms of the form. You can see this is like more, more than 10 the volt structure. If you compare, they vary in different size, different curvature. Even the structure, they also play this, the variation, this radius or curvature and so on. So once we can use hand to build this model, we are going to confident we can really to make this design into the system in terms of construction and the design. So through this detail, you can look at this is a horizontal, more cross section. Each piece is like 1.5 meters wide. This is somehow similar with a craftsman when they making the traditional brick kiln. So also cutting the sections through the, this way. That's also gave us a lot of the inspiration, later on when they develop some construction process. The model always build bigger. This is our the design process. Sometimes computer really plays, to the people. When they see, for example, when they through the computer, when they see this interior, sometimes if this is too dark, they give it much lighter. If this is really bright, and they getting readjust. So they please you, and also we feel very hard to get sense through the computer to realize what is really scale, what's the body, what's the people's body relation with our design. So this is a kind of our process. It's a model is make many different partial model, different scale, different way. This is a wood, partial model. And also definitely this is not a design process. This is more like a art piece of we did for this like porcelain, art product. So through those things, you can get a sense or design process. We not only through the idea, we we discover the root in terms of culture and climate, but also when we work on the Pacific, the design, the process, we also inspired by how traditional way to can associate our contemporary design. This is a set plan. The surrounding, this is like an open field. Most people going to walk through this open field, relic park, and then flow into this building. We can see this is the factory site, and surrounding this area, we have also created kind of the water garden and so on. So this is the perspective showing how people, wandering this open space, go underneath the green canopy to get on the bridge, passing through the water, flow into the foyer of the museum. So this is the how people experience. For example, this is the ground level is major, the permanent exhibition. People going to come through here and then concentrate, go downstairs, and then you continue your the circulation, and then you come from here, go on the stair back to the level. And the same moment, we have a temporary exhibition. We have a different foyer. People can come to here and then go down to this temporary exhibition program. But sometimes this wall have the door, sliding door. They can connect together. This permanent, temporary. They can be integrated together. And the same moment, we have office entrance. We have loading backside truck can go here back into the loading deck, and then they close the door. On the front, when people passing through this water garden, you're going to see somehow to see the, more like a semi-outdoor under those walled structure. For example, they pretty much front of this museum. This is a lecture hall. They can connect through the foyer, connect, overall exhibition, but also they can totally open to the public. Those parts, even the museum is closed, they also can open to public. So this, the ruin the site is after we start construction, we realize we discovered a lot of, the ruin. And then we change our design to create the one amphitheater, semi-outdoor exhibition, and then they also located in different height. So that's the interesting idea. I really want to make basement level more light, more ventilate. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sunken courtyard. The people always, even you go down to basement, you always see the bamboo courtyard. And once you walk into this courtyard, the office working process also bring into the overall exhibition circulation. For example, you can see people working here and also working here. Things, museum people always restored the porcelain, product and so on. And so this is in general circulation, we can see this is a section. In the beginning, we think about the structure, how we build. This is very complicated, the design. First of all, this in general, the wall structure is made by 2 layers of brick, pour the concrete in between. So this is more like sandwich. The things more also like the Roman time, right? When they build huge arch, they also use the first layer brick or stone, second layer concrete. The finished layer, they use stone or brick. So this is kind of a similar things. In the beginning, we try to use purely brick vault structure, but this is never the work in terms of earthquake. And also for the Chinese code, they not allow you to use purely brick. I think this is a technical part, but in terms of the tectonic consideration, I also feel from today, if we still insist use the brick to achieve this, use purely brick structure to achieve this vault structure, it's kind of doesn't make sense since you're going to make huge effort, to achieve stable safety the requirement. But somehow this idea is against the nature of a tectonic. So this is like our detail. You can see the section this is a concrete ceiling. We create roughly high, the space. This is a lot of the requirement. The people can underneath climbing inside. For example, when we doing some special exhibition, we have to let people go underneath, maybe to make hole, to make some connection. In general, the base, the floor is like the equipment instead, to totally like our structure release without major mechanical things. So this is our typical. After construction, this is a basement. You can see this brick. We collect a lot of the older kiln brick. This is a brick is into the fragment piece, the glaze. You can see this is it's really hard to know this is from Ming, Qing, or Yuan, even Song Dynasty. Things a lot of this recycled brick we collect is not only from the kiln, but also from the housing. The housing sometimes they rebuild, they hate this the material, they're going to throw it away. But those housing maybe they use brick many years ago. So this is our the process, the final layer for the masonry, the brick wall. So this is talking about how we achieved the complicated construction into the much simple construction process. We developed with a manufacturer, like this is the scaffolding. This scaffolding is metal. They also have a lot of I call like a small rod to can be extend really adjustable lot of metal rod to control this the soft the formwork. For example, this is a wood form. It's a kind of a soft, very soft, in order to we can make this the curvature. And at the same moment, you can see underneath we have one track. Whole scaffolding can be moving when they build piece 1.5 meters wide, and then they're going to moving. So this is our construction. Some part, most of the part, like this arch, we doing a few times, really hard to we have to invite a lot of the brick, the kiln, the craftsman people to make this complicated double curving arch work. So this is our after build. You can see beyond this museum, you can see a lot of housing or chimney, the factory front of, this is like a relic park, open field. We have grave the gravel, the plaza, and also water garden. So this is, when you walk around this plaza, you can also feel the, underneath your foot, you can produce a lot of sounds. And water also give you the sense about Jiangxi, the Jingdezhen is a bamboo, definitely this factory in beyond. You can see this big, the vault structure is showing so much detail about, break. The beyond bamboo, the water song, water garden, those in general, the environment to create this very special atmosphere, more like Jiangxi, to remind you in the tropical area. This water garden is, we lay out a lot of stone. So look at this point, more like the fish group, right? School of the fish is swimming underneath the water, but sometimes they pop out. Only few pieces pop out. This also give you some more life associates with those water gardens. So when you approach this museum, you not only get a sense about those tropical the climate, bamboo sound, but you also get a sense, okay, this museum is more transparent. We create a lot of space along the outside of the museum is more the outdoor space. Only the cover create a shade, but one can totally concentrate. This photo I took, I like this very much, to clear showing our structure and the material proposition, and also how you transform the concrete, the column beam to support your this arch, the sandwich structure. At the same moment, the kind of poetic, the sense of feeling to bring this museum into the associates of porcelain, for example, like the scale, the brick material, the vault structure, and so on. Once you walk in, this is our major foyer, the space. Most people are going to flow into here. And then you look at the north, you're going to see the window, right, open, but most of the east side going to the vault structure. And another tension they made is this transparent glass case. It's so, the light to make a contract, make an interesting tension between the rough structure, the brick, and also the concrete, and also stone and the concrete, the material. So this gave you somehow the traditional, the kiln, the feeling, but obviously it's very different. It's never, kiln never, brick kiln never have this so, transparency and also put everything together. So when you're looking south, you can see the detail of the design, the wood, the frame with a lot of open window. This is you can control this window open. Most of the time, the wind can be bring in to concentrate this, I call it, wind tunnel. So this is also the spatial character. From one space, go to second one, and then go beyond. The space always flow. It's encourage people from one place into another. Light also always into this museum. Since this museum is not art museum, this is like a themed porcelain museum. Porcelain like natural light. It's not like artwork, have to avoid natural light. Porcelain is never fear about humidity. They also like, the ventilation and so on. So when you from the interior foyer, and then you push the transparent glass door, you go to the second, the gallery, which is semi-outdoor. You're going to see the, down below, they have our ruin, which is, we found out after construction, how we, make effort to integrate. Look at this, sometimes I really moved by this architecture, this brick, the material structure, and they create kind of a relationship with body, with the people's activity. This is when you go down to the ruin side, the concrete, the very light transparent glass, you see through this museum. You see the beyond sky, you see the basement level. Also, you see through, for example, when you're standing on this side, you also can, look at the basement levels exhibition and then give you some, the indication how you can flow from one place to another. And variation of the scale, variation of the lightness of the museum also create the motivation to encourage people wandering inside. It's not just very rush. It's hopefully, encourage people stay, hang on to very enjoying the museum, enjoying the relationship. This is from amphitheater to look at the ruin, look through the semi-outdoor gallery, and then see beyond the museum, sunken courtyard, and then the urban surrounding. Once you're finished this, you can hang on surrounding. So this is like, I call sponge architecture. It's more like Chinese term. And porosity character to give this museum to, you can feel people wandering, looking down, go through the amphitheater, you can to go to another one. When people moving more like music, I consider the architecture should be, flowing of the music. It's not a frozen music, it's a flowing in music, encouraging people to hang on, to walk around. So this is courtyard. You can see from the ruin side and the theater. You can go down to the courtyard. Once you're from semi-outdoor gallery into another indoor gallery, so you can see the very subtle concrete. The stair bring you go down. You're going to see the downstairs. Definitely also can go beyond. So when you turn, you take on the stair is stepping down. You're going to see, oversee the courtyard beyond. So you're going to reduce the underground, the sense of a feeling. So this is when they make an opening. A lot of people, I really love this. Like you can see the people going, follow your spatial indication. People naturally go down to walk through, to go basement level. So you can see this is our transparency, the glass case. You can see this curving, looks like, covered people. The rough concrete you can see is the ceiling, but that's also refer the ceiling. When we pour this concrete, we meet the raining season every time, so it's very difficult for the concrete, the construction. For example, you can see a lot of water, the mark still stay on the concrete ceiling, but I feel this is okay. This is more like a reality. You have to deal with this. That's interesting our experience and discovery, how we can make our work. For example, this exhibition, the products can be work with our architecture. Since this is a break, this is very different with a typical the museum, the vertical wall, wide wall, and then all the things, glass case. Most is against the wall. So you only can see the porcelain from maybe 100, 100 degrees. But we would like to make this, the porcelain people can see from top button, since our very transparent button, and you can surrounding this glass case to see 300 degrees. I believe this is exactly porcelain product they want, how they present themselves. Natural light is also the idea to provide for this museum. You can see only this part without the window, but we have skylight. Bring down, this is I just mentioned before, this door going to sometime open. They're going to bring contemporary exhibition with permanent exhibition together. And our glass case somehow freestanding. It's not really attached wall. And since the form inside this form is like a fish belly, and then we use fish bone to organize this the glass case. So basically, people going to work is not just the smooth circulation; they need a turnaround. This is one courtyards I mentioned. I really enjoy those courtyards, especially during the rainy season. The water going to hitting on the bamboo to create kind of a Jiangxi the atmosphere. You're going to see beyond the museum people working. You're going to see bamboo, sky. Each courtyard have very different scale. Some courtyard roughly bigger. This is really the small. The tea room above, you also can looking down inside the museum. We stand in front of a multifunction the room. So this is the people kind of enjoying the activity inside. This is after you almost finish your permanent circulation, you're going to hang on this courtyard to see the some stone base. Actually, it's a foundation when we work on this project, excavated from this Pacific side, from Ming Dynasty. And then this is the last moment when people walk, almost finish their permanent circulation. You're going to see one stair. They're going to attract you stepping on to go up. Since this is like an atrium, when you're standing here, you also can realize above have some exhibition. So use light, use stair, use space. We try to create a kind of a flow, the experience for the people. Definitely the one thing I also more want to emphasize, like in Jingdezhen, there's another ceramic museum. So this museum, they built based on they not built for the person. They built for the aircraft. It's like huge box, high ceiling, dark box, many artificial lights. You can show on, you can exhibit aircraft, car, only you cannot present porcelain. I feel somehow disconnect the people, the contents with the architecture. So this building, this museum, is really want to catch up the relationship among the people, the structure and the contents was exhibit. So when you stepping up, you're going to this stair also interesting. Whenever doing the stair is like people to see the whole thing. Somehow one, stair show one plate located behind the wall, somehow behind. So this is when you get on in the middle of the level, you're going to see the natural light. And then this is so much, represent or idea. This is this is a recycled brick with new brick to mix together to create this vault structure, and then natural light going to brush on this rough structure. When people back and forth this stair, you must be going to use your hand to touch. So this touch, it's not only visual, you can feel the. Okay, so we back the foyer of the museum, and then you're going to see the small lobby or foyer for the lecture hall. So people can also from the outside of the museum to connect. Once you walk in, this lecture hall is covered by one vault structure. We have a horizontal cut exactly right on the ground level, horizon line. And then we also have gap, vertical. So this make it quite interesting. Even this top light, you can see this is most is natural light mixed with artificial light to indicate or represent a traditional brick kiln. They also have observation hold right on above. So this is when we have the seminar, the meeting. So what I really want to see the atmosphere like this, building incomplete, but we waiting for the interesting activity. So this is a tea room. We make a horizontal cut. It's more like a Chinese, scroll painting. Is things once you standing on here, they're going to force you to sit down in order to see through this horizontal cut, because the ruin talking about underneath the earth. So once you're sitting here, you can see through beyond the ruin park, imperial ruin park. Front of the water have some intimate way to protect, not allow people to access from this semi-outdoor space. So see how people to interpret, to use this space, tea room. When we have activity, how people were enjoying in summer, semi-outdoor, outside is raining, but people can stay covered, but still outdoor. And we have a lot of activity going on, just, exactly like this museum, really welcoming people to enjoy. This is like a transparent sponge. So, from the south to see beyond the housing and the residential and the front of the vertical, the courtyard. So this going, pretty much we work around this museum. And then we have the video can bring, we wandering through this museum. So beyond the river, the factory. Okay, I'm going to use another 10 minutes very quickly to go through the rest of our design. This is, I would like to show the Majiayao ruin, the museum, and observatory. This is located in Gansu, very far south in the northwest part of China. It's the surrounding geography is like the Loess, the pastel, you know. So this location. So this is all, we're going to work on 2 projects. One is we call the observatory. Another one is ruin museum. This is a ruin. It's a prehistory, you know, prehistorical, the plot ruin site. So you can see this is a ruin site. This is a local geography. It's quite interesting. This is a Taohe. It's a big river. And then this is like white land. And then we have the canyon just perpendicular with this river. And then geography, the site is more like a platform, you know, like the one terrace into another. The ruin site exactly located in between. It's not on the top. It's also not in the bottom. This is also reflecting the ancestor people, the survival Vestal. So this is we're going to make the observation building is here. So you can see this is general. This is the model. You can see the big canyon crossing through here. This is a ruin. I believe through this model, I really want to catch up the sense about the where the pottery come from. So I believe this is like the yellow soil, and during the thunderstorm, raining and the bird burning the forest, and then later on, people discovered the fire, like those soil became to the piece of a pottery. So this is a kind of we really want to represent, really want to catch up this route. So this is 2 buildings. One is somehow hiding behind the earth. Another one is somehow sunken into the land. So the first building, observation building, you can see we just one horizontal cut reflecting the layer of the soil. This is the lowest plateau is kind of very flexible. You can always carve out. Local people, they sometimes live in the cave inside of the wood structure building. So this observation building, we just hiding somehow under earth. People use the ramp, flow into the underneath. You can see this is like our horizontal cut. People can look the historical, the ruin side. So this is what we try to do. Above the ground, we only use a kind of a primitive structure to reflecting the prehistorical maybe the architecture or survival. So we also carve a lot of cave, for the mechanical, for the observation deck, people standing up, also standing on the terrace, this horizontal cut to see through, to see the ruin, the part. So this is a very good photo to showing our concept, since the natural side is really flat, and then we just making horizontal cut, very minimum, very control, very horizontal, like a screen, Chinese screen painting. For example, this scale, the model also have very big scale. You can see we start testing the exactly the geography, how this building to integrate or existing the yellow soil. This is a Loess plateau kind of things. So you can see the people, scale with this model. So this is the plan. Basically, the structure, I always try to avoid the column B. I just strongly feel this is not, the perfect showing the character of a structure and the material. So we just use the three major, we call the tube, the structure, and then concrete slab. The wall to support, lot of shade wall surrounding. So overall construction going to only open the central part, and then those things going to carve out. So in order to preserve existing soil condition. So this is like a stair ramp. This is horizontal cars. The museum is also like what I mentioned. This is a typical the cave and the nest combination. And this curvature, like a shell, more like a piece of pottery against the northwest wind. Since north wind is very cold local in winter, kind of a desert. So this museum is somehow very horizontal, sunken into the earth, above ground, very minimum height. This is facing the north. This is facing south. Next, the cave going to make, the overall building very sustainable. They can provide comfort, the temperature exchange. The big idea is encouraging people flow from the front plaza, and then they take a ramp. This is just one ramp to go through everything. Eventually, they come out from the museum, and then they crossing to here, and then they go a little bit up to the ruin museum. So this is zigzag, the shape, the circulation is a kind of, if we think about, like the historical people, how they collect the water from the creek, they making the plot. They just, use a zigzag shape to climbing the mountain up and down to the river. So this museum catch up this experience. They also use a primitive, the cave and the nest. This is a piece of arch upside down, more like a big beam. So this is a cross section showing the cave and the nest. This is a plan and this section. So this is the inside. We have a 2-level exhibition gallery under the actually inside nest. This is more cave part. Since the local, they have a lot of cave. So this is in between, two shell. We create a secondary exhibition circulation. People can walk through, climbing up and then go to the ramp. So tectonic, actually I want to use more structure and material proposition, maybe very quickly to show. For example, this structure, I inspired by tent, basically concrete, the very thin concrete double curving roof somehow to pull by the concrete shade wall, and then some column. So if we ignore this partition wall, this whole building is like, the structure, tent structure. This is one thing I really want to make, artistic inspiration about the structure, material. And the second one is more like the Shu Yuan is a Chinese, called the Chinese Academy to learn surrounding some house. This is a local. Local, they use the stone to making the wall. It's things a lot of mountain hill. This is pretty much their, tectonic culture. And then those wall, you can see this wall somehow to set back from the roof edge in order to we create some overhang to protect the rain and sun. This is a full, gallery. The roof, some part is connect, some part independent. It's very different with the traditional Chinese, I call 书院, but they still catch up the sense. It's one central courtyard surrounding with gallery. So once you walk interior, you can feel the tension, the horizontal floor, very clean. And then roof somehow was, inward based on the gravity to create this tension of a double curving roof. So this is a lecture hall. You can see this is a shade wall, bring the roof together. Beyond, you can see this column, right? Actually, this wall is more like a partition, the masonry, the stone wall, but inside the column, in between the roof and the wall, we leave some gap to showing this tectonic idea. So this is a concrete. The concrete is there. You can see the combination about material and the detail, the window, this concrete, little beam, the gap, the roof. You feel the roof going to continue the flow inside, and also some window. You can see this is a kind of a Chinese garden. We use a window to catch up some beautiful moment. And definitely this building is give you the sense or give you the pressure when you walk inside the building, you feel, okay, this structure was pulled by the roof. You always feel the structure going to falling down, but in reality not. So you create kind of a tension, more poetic, more the tension. Another one is similar to this is we use purely concrete. This is also in Jingdezhen. It's a very tropical area. The idea is create like early village settlement sitting inside the valley. And the structure is somehow just use arch concrete roof, use some wall to support. But this is a purely structure, or almost nothing else. Everything exposure outside. This is a concrete curving roof, concrete. We just made a difference, the texture because difference technique when you pour this roof and this wall. So you can see this, the whole building, lot of overhang. This represent the local climate. A lot of raining in Jingdezhen, and a lot of balcony overhang. This is, never have the column beam is transformed, the arch and the wall into the structure system. You can see this is a clear showing the roof. I always interesting about how we can deal with roof things. Roof associates sky, associates light, associates safety for the people. So how you can really to use roof to create a lot of, like a porosity, quality of the space. So you can see a lot of indoor, outdoor, somehow in between. This overall building is like an imperial kiln, building. It's a lot of this kind of space. One thing I really want to emphasize for the Imperial Kiln Museum is very successful in terms of the temperature. So even in hot summer, the whole building without any air conditioning. So this is I'm very proud of in terms of the sustainable issue. So you can see beyond the roof, right? So building a lot of outdoor space, the corridor, people hanging around, because the program is majorly for the people living here, and also like a guest room, and the major is a conference room. Idea I really want bring the natural light into the conference room. Things most of the conference rooms is going to dark, black, but inside of this building, everything is natural light. So because of the time, I feel I have to stop my lecture. Thank you, everybody. Pay attention to listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Shu. Thank you, Shu Pei, for a terrific lecture. On behalf of SCI, thank you for tonight, and I'll see you in a minute in the Q&A part of it.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
So, as I said, thank you so much for the lecture. Fantastic to see the work through. It keeps getting better and better by the minute. Every time I see it, it's inspirational. But this is really for the students to ask you questions, for you to talk to them. So I will shut up now and thank you again. And we will connect next week, you and I. So I'll stay quiet from now on. And not the floor, but the screen is all for all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay here, but I'll stay quiet. So don't be shy, ask you whatever you want to ask. Emily, looks like you're going to have to be first.
Yeah, sure.
There we go.
All right. Hi, Pei. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was amazing, super inspiring. And I have a question for your Kiln Museum, specifically how you think the museum and its meaning and program and purpose to the people will change in the future, like 50 years down the line.
Sorry, that's your question, right? Kayo?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so the question is, right now it's a museum that sits on top of a very important historical archaeological site. And just like the bricks that you've used, they've kind of been recycled, and that significance is imparted into like the wall structure. The meaning of this museum, I'm interested in how this will evolve over time, to what you think how it will change in the future for the people around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, exactly what I mentioned, my design theory, right? Ideology is 5 points. The last point is incomplete integrity. I feel architecture has to be timeless. How you can achieve your timeless? You know, it's not just built for the Pacific moment, Pacific program, Pacific, you know, everything too Pacific, you're going to lose the flexibility for the future. It's like painting show us the building should be incomplete in terms of form, structure, and space, especially program. So I expect, you know, this museum can be integrated by the future people. They can, you know, used by their imagination to create a lot of interesting things, event, and so on.
Thank you. I also have more questions, but I'm going to give time for other people.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Zhu Pei. So I was in MoMA in January. So I saw the exhibition of the Jindarzhen Museum, and I saw a model that's made by like ceramics, which is really impressive. And that actually really manifested a lot of like materiality. Like actually my question is about like, so there's a lot of like architecture in China. Do you think like how the materiality can be like related to like maybe Chinese culture?
I think so. And probably if you live in China, right? And I think China is quite a difference with other countries, especially maybe difference US in terms of culture. People always think about tradition. And for example, and then the material going to represent their wisdom for the survival. For example, why this region they use this material to build this house. They must be very smart. They must be very safe, also very, smart to simulate to build. And also they can be sustainable to have life for a long time. So I think this Visto intelligent idea can be applied today's moment. Sometimes I'm not trying to 100%, okay, local use this material we have to use on today's time. But you have to, make a judgment how you can build very simply, easily. And but definitely, I believe structure, material, even the tectonic culture going to be the consideration, for your decision making about structure, material, and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll jump in, and once again, amazing work and amazing presentation. With the film museum, I know that kind of, some of the direction of architecture with like advanced manufacturing techniques. How do you kind of start to navigate the dialogue between, playing an importance on materiality and the, more traditional kind of labor and construction methods, and then kind of in juxtaposition with that later project you showed of like the cast in place concrete? Is it more of like a narrative element that you're kind of exploring, and how that, the material you choose in the construction method that's tied to it? Or is it purely just kind of based on, either formal or, situation of site?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's associated side. If you compare the last one, right, pure concrete, the conference center with Q Museum, same city, but the different location. The Q Museum right in the historical center area. It's inside old town. And then the concrete building is far outside of city. It's more in the, suburbia and without traditional village or architecture. So I think that's the one decision making. For that side, it's not associated a lot of culture route. Maybe I focus on the more climate, more like a light or quality of or contemporary the issue. So this is what you can compare those two, right? You can see my proposition in terms of architecture, the structure, and the material reality.
Thank you. Are you almost worried for a time when some of that skilled labor disappears? I mean, I definitely think it's a different question based in, Chinese culture versus like a global position, but having some of that skilled labor go away, like, do you think, some of your projects that you've done, do you think that they could still be done in the same fashion, or, would some of the meanings have to change with that method?
I believe even for the less labor in the future, you can be done this way, but this is not the right way to do. Based on my understanding principle of tectonic, the idea is how you find some most simple way, more effective way. You have to save material, use very easy way to achieve your construction. I think that's the key for the tectonic. I don't like, maybe 50 years ago, we almost lost the craftsmen people to doing this anymore, but you still want to do it. But I feel this is totally against architecture of nature, my theory, my ideology. I would like to follow the natural way, which way is easy, which is the right way to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe one more, so we let Shu to starting his day over there in Beijing. So if anybody have one more question, this is the chance.
I have a lot of questions still, but I don't want to monopolize time. But my questions, there's one about fabrication and referring to your kiln museum and the way that you've had hand built your model. And I'm really interested in if you can elaborate further as to what elements you believe are lost to automated fabrication, like the 3D printing. And I know that you focus very strongly on construction technique in the early design phase. So when do you know that the model building technique will effectively translate to the building construction later down the road?
I think this is not only relate the technology or technique of construction. I think this is more like ideology. And I strongly believe architecture should be symbol based on the system. I think this is maybe architecture art, the nature of architecture art. Symbol, geometry, easy to build. It's not try to challenge, to make very complicated, but I just thought maybe this is a different art. So if we consider this, I just feel definitely for the future 3D print, like a mobile or rubble, kind of things. I feel we can use, but I just feel at least for today, we feel how you can use a symbol way. And then the symbol way must be showing the nature of the system, must be showing the logic of construction. I know the 3D printer can print, everything, but I'm not sure the future, how, which, I don't know, the gravity or structure, which way is going to be easy. But I feel the idea-wise or ideology-wise, I still prefer, to making simple way based on the system. This is the reason I encourage our team, the people who working with me is in the beginning of our design, we have to realize how we build this building. Sometimes like architects, it's very dangerous for the architects. If you not push, if you're not trying to challenge the current, the situation, the meaningless. But if you challenge it too much, you may wave disaster in the end. So I saw a lot of architecture really disaster now, but they don't like show anybody. But we saw the city. Probably you saw a lot of disaster things. This is sometime you have to really know how to really build. Then my design process, even where in the beginning, preliminary conceptual design, I already make a decision about structural system, material, and so on. I really trust this. Okay.
One more? Sure. You have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay. Last one. Who wants to take it?
Hi, sorry, I dropped offline, and thank you, Mr. Page, for your presentation. I do have my last question. So the space I saw, the museum, are like super audience that we are also working on the museum project this semester. I'm wondering, like, to express, you mentioned you start to think about the system, architectonic system from the beginning. I wonder, like, is also mechanical system that's also part of your consideration? How do you resolve the conflicts between your like the artistic image you want to create and the like the mundane aspect of architecture?
The architecture is very complicated, right? It's today what I show basically is after build, everything actually hiding behind. For example, during the lecture, I mentioned for the Cube Museum, even for the rest building, I like to use the floor to be the mechanical, the room, like a double level. Sometimes I create clear space 1.5, the people can climbing inside to doing many things. All the mechanical, it's major mechanical, is going through this mechanical level is, for example, you can, go up to provide the air conditioning, especially for the Cube Museum. It's really good. The top, no air conditioning, but the bottom only from the bottom along this vault, and then curving vault wall perfectly to like cold air to fly to the people's scale. Definitely it's a lot of the complicated things is we have to really deal with, but I think it is a part of the design in the beginning. But fortunately for the Cube Museum, even we provide air conditioning system, but we almost never use. Like what I mentioned, maybe good cave and good balance about the cave and the nest, ventilation, and also the porcelain museum maybe never fear about humidity and so on. So we're kind of proud of this achievement. But like what you said, it's very complicated for the mechanical. You should take consideration or decision making made in the earlier your design. It's more conceptual level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Shupei, thank you so much, my friend. It was a great pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for all of you students to join us for the Q&A. And hopefully we can have Shu with us next year when the things start to get back, to keep going more to normal. So we're looking forward to see you in LA in person and to keep the conversation going. And you and I will connect next week.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So,
really,
thank you very much, Shu.
Thank
okay,
you.
this is such a great honor for me. SCI-Arc is my, if I'm thinking about school, SCI-Arc is a really great school. So I have been here, but no chance to really fully deeply engage. But today is very good, start. I think I always start by Los Angeles. And so hopefully I can be part of SCI-Arc culture.
Absolutely. This is just more to come.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.